Hi guys, so today's video is going to be a very early February TBR. The reason I'm doing this so early in the month is because there's a couple buddy reads that I am doing in February, and for any of you that want to participate, I want to make sure that you have plenty of time to get a hold of the books because there are a couple of different ones, so even if you're not interested in one of them, you might be interested in another. And I know not everybody, I mean, for a lot of people in America at the very least, just order stuff on Amazon, it shows up a day or two later, but I know that accessibility for books is not that easy for other people. Some of you maybe are going to request things from the library, so long story short, just wanted to make sure that all of you had enough time to get your hands on these books if you are wanting to join. Kicking it off, the first one would be the buddy read pick with Jessie from Jessie May, and that would be Legendborn. This is a book I have heard nothing but good. I've just heard nothing but good things about. It is a King Arthur retelling, but kind of an urban fantasy, and I've heard that it handles the loss and grief of the character's mother who passed away, and you kind of dive into that a little bit more than a lot of people were evidently expecting. I know Reagan from Peruse Project really enjoyed this. I know Q and TG really enjoyed this. I've just heard so many good things, so we are picking this up in February. We're so excited. We may also have another person joining us for this buddy read. They haven't totally confirmed yet, but there may be another awesome individual who will be picking this book up alongside us. So fingers crossed that can happen, but we are so thrilled for this one. I'm not gonna lie, I've wanted to pick this one up since the year has started. I just want to dive into this. I've heard it's fast paced. I've heard that the romance elements, which are not right at the forefront, but what little there is, whatever amount there is, that it's really well done. I've heard that there's lots of twists and turns. You just never want to stop turning the page, and I'm very ready for a book like that. The next buddy read book is through my Patreon. This was the patron voted book, and that would be Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. I have also heard a lot of fantastic things about this book, but the few more negative things I've heard about it actually make me even more excited to pick it up. So for example, Books with Brittany was talking about how she felt like she would have liked maybe a little bit more world building in this one, that it could have gone more in depth with it and been a little bit more fleshed out. And so Brittany really likes Malazan, and there's a lot of other series where she just gets really into the world building, and I sometimes am like, okay, I get it. Can we just get back to what's happening with our characters? And I'm ready to move on. So I'm actually even more excited. I've heard that you don't want to stop. You just don't want to stop reading. My friend Joshana from the channel, Joshana, that's just her name, she said that she read this basically in a sitting, that she kind of didn't want to put it down. And just like with Legendborn, I'm so excited for that. Plus, February, couple days shorter, so I feel like I need books that I get through really quick. Next up, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to navigate this just yet, but I am trying to read at least one nonfiction book every month, and I really want to pick up Just Mercy. And it says on the back that this comes from one of the most brilliant and influential lawyers of our time, and it's a story about the redeeming potential of mercy. And it says that the attorney founded the Equal Justice Initiative, which is a legal practice dedicated to defending the poor, the wrongly condemned, and those trapped in the furthest reaches of our criminal justice system. And I believe there is an adaptation for this. And so the thing that I'm considering doing is some form of, maybe over on Patreon, doing some kind of we watch the movie and then we discuss, or we read the book and discuss. I want to read the book first and then maybe watch the movie and then discuss and chat about it, or maybe I'll do it on my channel. I'm not quite sure, but if I can, I would like to do something along those lines with this one. I have a feeling that this one's going to make me really emotional. Moving into the regular TBR, non-buddy read, non-discussion type books. So since February has Valentine's Day, it seemed like a fitting time to read some books where maybe the romance is a little bit stronger. I'm not a huge romance reader necessarily, but every now and then I do like a fantasy story with some fun romance in it, or some angsty romance. And so I have a few that I've picked out. I don't know if I'll get to all of these. You can definitely let me know if there's one that you absolutely want me to get to. So I'll hold them up really quick for the overview. So we have Crescent City, Sarah J. Maas, everybody knows, kind of like her thing to do the smoochy stuff. And then we have These Violent Delights. We also have From Blood and Ash, which I've been seeing everywhere. And then Lancelot, which I hardly ever see. Lancelot by Giles Christian. I always want to say Christian Giles. But this is one I'm so sorry to anybody who loves this book and talks about it all the time, because it's very aggravating when someone says, I never see anyone talk about this. And someone's like, hello, I talk about it all the time. But the people I have seen talk about it are actually on Bookstagram. A couple of my favorite Bookstagram accounts are obsessed with this writer and this book. They say the prose is amazing, that the story is so heart-wrenching, and I've seen them talk about it a few times. I'm like, all right, fine. My interest is piqued, and I'll have them linked down below because their accounts are stunning, beautiful, and they're awesome. They're really fun to interact with, but I've only really ever seen them talk about it, and I want to see what all the fuss is about. Of these remaining 3 more romance-heavy books, I don't know if I will read both of these. I might read one or the other. So we have Crescent City and From Blood and Ash. Like I said, From Blood and Ash, I've just been seeing everywhere. I know Vish from Books with V and then Shoshana, again, they read this recently and they really enjoyed it. They had some mixed feelings about the sequel, but overall they've been really liking it. But this seems to be making its way around Bookstagram, around BookTube. It seems like everybody's picking it up, and kind of like with the other one, I want to see what all the fuss is about. I hear that this one is quite heavy on the romantic elements. So if you're somebody who if you want the romance to be like maybe 50% or less of the plot, I don't know if this is the right one. I obviously haven't read it yet. Maybe go watch other people talk about it. But I don't know. I've heard that the main characters are fun in this, that it's kind of sort of a mix of more than just fantasy. I'm excited. It sounds fun. And then, of course, with Crescent City. So people have all sorts of opinions about Sarah J. Maas, and I have only read the first... Okay, I've actually read a decent amount. I've read the first 3 Throne of Glass books, which I did not hate, but I also didn't totally love, but my friend does love them, and I was like, you know what? I'll probably finish out the series, because they'll be fun ones to pick up here and there between some of the bigger epic fantasy books. And then the ACOTAR series, which, by the way, if you have not watched Alan from Library of Alexandria, his vlogs for that, you definitely should go treat yourself to that because it's hilarious. He did not like it. Spoiler alert. So anyway, I read the first one. I was like, I mean, it was fine. I didn't hate it, but it was not necessarily my usual thing. I picked up the sequel because everyone said, oh, but A Court of Mist and Fury is just like so good. And that was the one where I DNF'd it because I was like, so does anything happen besides the angstiness? So that one wasn't necessarily my favorite, but I've heard that this one has a little bit more plot to it. I think that the beginning, from everything I've heard, you kind of got to push through, but everybody's kind of emotional about this book. Apparently people cry. I think my friend Jessie said that she cried reading this book, and I don't know why, but I'm not anticipating that I'm going to get emotional, but I get excited. I feel like people saying it made me cry is almost like a buzzword. And then these Violent Delights, I've also heard really good things about. It's definitely more of an angsty story. I think it's supposed to be kind of a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but more modern, and I think it has more Asian influences in it. So I haven't heard too many people talk about it, but I have seen quite a few people that have picked it up really enjoy it, but I haven't really... Nobody that I talk to often has read this one yet, so I don't really know what I would be getting into, but it seems like a good one for February. We also have Song of Wraiths and Ruin and Raybearer. I think I'm actually more excited about Raybearer. I've heard it's one of the best debuts, that people are blown away by it, but I think it maybe isn't as romance heavy, and so maybe Song of Wraiths and Ruin would be better suited for February. I know Naya Reads and Smiles loved this, but I also have seen some other people say like it is a little bit kind of not the newest tropes necessarily when it comes to YA fantasy, that some of it is a little bit similar, a little bit familiar. I'm not opposed to that though. Sometimes it's nice to be with something that you're like, okay, I'm ready to settle in and just have a good time, be along for the ride. So I am definitely excited about this one. I know tons of people were reading it last year, but it took forever for me to get my copy because it's a special edition. And then I was like, you know what, I'll just kind of save it. So hopefully I can get around to it in February. The last 2 books, I would love for you to let me know which one you would prefer I pick up. You can just say the name of the book in the comments, and then I can search which one comes up more. So one of them I think maybe is better suited for February, and it would be the Unbroken. That's the one. I had to check my notes. The Unbroken. And this one, I believe it's a soldier and a princess, and there's a lot of banter between the two of them, and I think they're both ladies, and I think they might be into each other. So this one, I have both of these. I go a little bit more in depth with the synopsis in my anticipated releases video. The other one would be The Conductors, which I don't think is really particularly romance heavy by any means, but it follows a character who, there's the Underground Railroad, and they are a conductor, but apparently it's kind of similar to the Dresden Files, which just sounds like a whole combination of all sorts of interesting things. So I'm interested in both of these. I would like to read both of these at some point. And if I can, I would love to read both of them in February, but in the chances that I can't get to both of them, I would love to know which one you would prefer I pick up. Both of them I think sound really good, just very different from one another. That's it for the books that I'm hoping to get around to in February. Definitely let me know what you're planning on reading. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you all later. Bye.